I'm going to show you some, for the rest of the time, I wanted to show you some Momento Mori pieces, and also introduce a related still life topic called Vanitas, which is very closely related to Momento Mori, okay? And so we talked about Momento Mori, reminder of death, right? When they have skulls and things that, like fruit, and things that don't last in the painting or the drawing, correct? We talked about Memento Mori?
Yes.
Okay, so instead of just me talking about it, I just wanted to show you a couple examples of that in painting and some famous paintings. And this is totally a Memento Mori by modern artist Damien Hirst. So this is a real human skull, which has been set with millions of dollars worth of real diamonds. And this is a Memento Mori. And the message is certainly very clear in that you can have all of these things in life, and diamonds are forever, but you're not forever. He's making a very, very humorous statement with this. This piece is called "For the Love of God," and I don't know why he named it that. You know, a lot of artists don't explain to you if they have entitled their work, and many of them don't even title their work at all. So just wanted you to see this modern take on Memento Mori.
Why don't they title their work?
Because they don't want to give you any kind of idea of what they were thinking about. They want you to be bringing your own ideas to the piece of artwork. So they don't want to tell you this means this and this is what I was thinking. You are the other half of a piece of artwork. They're the artist, you're the viewer, and they want you to bring your own ideas and explanations when you're looking at a piece of artwork. So the viewer is also, most of the time, they are also an important player in looking at a piece of artwork, okay? And the third person is usually art historians and critics. And they will go on and they will give their own interpretation of what's going on in a piece of artwork and the meaning and this and that. And they'll come with more of an informed view because they'll know everything about the background of the artist, their life, what other works that they have done. He's done controversial pieces where he takes things that were once living. Like one of his most famous pieces is a cow. He took a whole cow. He cut it into sections. Like, you know how one of those scanners, medical scanners there's one that like does cross sections of the human body, and they can like virtually kind of slice you into small thin slices to examine your body. Well, he did it like actually physically, probably with a bandsaw. He took a whole cow, most likely he froze it, like the whole cow, and they just literally sliced it into sections, and then he encased each section into clear acrylic. Like he cast it into a solid acrylic box. It's outrageous to people who, of course, have very strong feelings about animals and animal cruelty and not eating cows and not torturing animals and all those kinds of things. So he did a lot of kind of controversial types of things, or things that could be considered controversial. He also did that with like a full-grown shark. He also cut that into sections and put that into, cast that into clear acrylic, which is like a clear plastic. Here is some old examples of Memento Mori. This is a drawing, 15th century, in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. There's like a little rat or something inside here of this corpse, kind of eating him away. Little snake. These are prayer beads. This was a prayer bead that was part of like a Catholic prayer bead, and beautifully carved out of ivory. And here's some more of that kind of jewelry. The level of detail is really incredible. You see this kind of this face of this man. He looks dead, and the other side of him is the skull. Here's a very beautiful print of Andreas Vesalius's work. He was a illustrator, an artist, medical expert who did these series of beautiful anatomical studies. And a lot of artists have studied his drawings to draw the body more realistically. And this one is a great Memento Mori piece because he actually posed it in some sort of a very melancholy, thoughtful way, and it has kind of a story or a narrative. So the skeleton is kind of contemplating death, right? Even though he's a skeleton. So everybody, used his studies to more realistically. I'm not saying they're perfect drawings because the legs look a little bit off. The lower leg looks a little short, but he did some very detailed studies of the human body. Okay, this one's called A Human Skeleton Leaning Against a Tomb in 1500s. So here's a portrait of a surgeon with a skeleton. Okay, that was also from the 1500s. Okay, so here's a lovely example of Memento Mori. You have the skull, you have a beautiful musical instrument, you have a drinking glass, and of course the candle. The candle showing, you know how candles burn out, so they have a very limited life, pushing that idea that life is short. These are all kind of like the pleasures of life, drink and music. The artist also has created a trompe l'oeil. Remember I was talking about trompe l'oeil, which is fooling the eye. So they have a double trick right now. Not only did they paint the scene like these are objects sitting in a niche. That's like a little hole in the wall. Some houses, someone might have put in a little decorative niche, and then you put like a vase or something in that little hole. Well, then the artist painted this canvas saying this is a painting of a painting. So that's kind of a joke, a visual joke. And he's peeling the canvas back and you could see the canvas frame. So that is a great little ingenious detail. So this is from the 17th century. So this person painted this in the 1600s. Cornelis Nobertus Guybrechts. But Vanitas is also related to Memento Mori. It's very similar. There doesn't have to be a skull, but then you still see the musical instruments, the food, the drinking glass, the books, things that give people pleasure, music and reading and things like that. So Vanitas is closely related to Memento Mori still lifes, which are artworks that remind the viewer of the shortness and fragility of life. Vanity of vanities, it is all vanity, meaning it shows items that remind the viewer of the shortness and fragility of life. So it includes symbols. It could, Memento Mori includes skulls and extinguished candles. But Vanitas can include musical instruments, wine, and books. It reminds us of worldly things and basically worldly pleasures and goods. But it also, what it does is emphasize that all these things are worthless in the end because you lose them. When you are finished with your life, none of these things matter anymore. So it kind of shows you all these worldly goods. So, the love of music, the love of food is here, the love of reading, the love of maybe the arts, and here's some jewelry and things like that. All these worldly goods that belong to a person of culture are here. But whether you're a person of culture, or whether you're a person who is a peasant who does not have these worldly goods or are well-traveled, it doesn't matter, because in the end, everyone comes to the same conclusion. So that is that way of that is the difference between Momento Mori and Vanitas, but they are very similar. So I wanted to show you a painting by Paul Cézanne, and this is a little group with fruit. So he has, a fruit still life. He has plants in the background, but also kind of overlooking them is this skull. So this was just an example. There's tons of examples of Momento Mori, but this particular one, he also did several groupings of skulls also, as well as fruit. That's another, beautiful painting by Cézanne. Memento Mori is Latin meaning remember you must die. So it's like remember you're gonna die. And it includes symbols such as skulls and candles. However, Vanitas also includes musical instruments, wine, and books to remind us explicitly of the vanity in the sense of worthlessness of worldly pleasures and goods, because all of these things are at the end not going to mean anything when you die. They're just like kind of temporary things. So that's called Vanitas, and it doesn't necessarily have to have the skull. When you have the skull, it becomes Memento Mori. But if you have just kind of like the pleasures of the world that's offered to you, and you see that, that's called Vanitas. And it also kind of is almost a similar message, saying these are all temporary things, these are not important, because at the end, death is going to get you. So that's all I have to say about Memento Mori and Vanitas. Kind of, it's a subtle difference. It's a subtle difference, but it's good to know if you're going to go into arts and also art appreciation, and you want to talk about it. Now you can, certainly go into a museum and say this is an example of Vanitas, and then explain away what the meaning of having all these little items in the picture means to your family, your friends, your loved one in the future. You can basically be, an expert at that.